Hello and welcome everyone to OnPoint Technologies and PCM webinar today. We are thrilled to have you with us for Microsoft Office webinar, which is Advantages of Moving to Office 365 E5. And to present this topic, we have got Scott Newman, who is our very own Cloud Solutions sales professional. Before going into our main presentation, we have got a few housekeeping items. Please remember to enter your questions in the question box on your right-hand side, and I'll relay those to our speaker this morning at the end of the presentation. We do send out a survey at the end of the presentation. Please fill it out and let us know how we did, as well as topic you'd like to see covered in the future. You should see that survey in your inboxes later today. Speaking of future webinars, please be sure to check out weekly webinar schedule on our website at www.onpoint.com/webinars. We are also recording this webinar, which will be available for playback within the next few days. Recordings are posted to our webinar page along with our upcoming webinar schedules. And with that, I'm happy to hand it over to Scott, who will be presenting on advantages of moving to Office 365 E5. So Scott, you are on now.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for attending. Today, we're going to be going over the advantages of moving to Office 365 E5. Now, the intended audience for this webinar is for organizations that have the E3 suite of technologies. If you do not, I'm going to go over a brief overview of that in the very beginning, and then we will cover all the details of E5 as we move forward. Just a little agenda for this. We have the Office 365 core features that I will cover very briefly, moving on to the E5 features, and then finishing up with Cloud PBX, PSTN services, and PSTN consumption as it moves on. So, moving on. Office 365 as a foundation is the umbrella of productivity services provided by Microsoft. Microsoft's best-selling product is focused around 4 of these key features. We have Office 365 ProPlus, we have Skype for Business, SharePoint Online, and Exchange Online. And all of these services are, has really become the cornerstone of productivity in the workplace. With Office 365, we've created a single user interface for purchasing, management, allowing role-based access, synchronizing with Active Directory systems, so streamlining your management, and including support, geographic redundancy, and of course, a financially backed SLA. So, moving on at a very high level overview, we have Office 365 Pro Plus, the same version historically of Microsoft Office that we're used to each and every day, but now in a user-based licensing model that provides up to 15 total installations per user, 5 on a PC or Mac, 5 in tablets, and on phones. Recently, it just went through another feature release. We see generally about 2 to 3 feature releases in Office 365 Pro Plus per year, where they update the application directly. Moving on, I have Skype for Business Online. That is very similar to the platform we're utilizing today, providing both the webinar aspect, providing meetings, and online presence, fully integrating across all of the Office products and across all firewalls as well. And then we have SharePoint Online. SharePoint Online is the common document repository and organization for intranet websites, in addition to the OneDrive for Business component, which allows the ease of use and flexibility, allowing your end users to have their personal documents stored in a secure, managed environment. And then, last but not least, we have Exchange Online. Exchange Online providing best in business best-in-class email functionality. New is a 100 gigabyte mailbox. This is new over the last 6 weeks. It's been rolled out. Streamlining that together with voicemail and unified messaging. Combining all of that with retention policies and all the features you have come to enjoy with the Office products inside the cloud. Now, Microsoft's overall strategy with the Office 365 platform is, regardless of your endpoint, the area you are going to access it, whether it's Mac, Windows, iOS, or Android, that you have the same experience. Really creating a unified system for you to review, edit, analyze, and present your ideas in a consistent manner. So somebody who is used to utilizing Word on a PC is able to work, utilize the same file, and then later that evening, if they need to, they can open Word up on a Mac and access the exact same file and have it viewed the exact same way. By utilizing this strategy, it can consolidate different type of storage mechanisms, so you no longer have to utilize a documents folder on your Mac, a documents folder on your PC, iCloud storage on your iOS devices, or file storage on your Android devices. You literally can have one place for everything, utilizing OneDrive for Business, which also grants you the ability to have anytime more access so that your user can constantly have access to all of their data. By having over 1 terabyte of storage available to them via the OneDrive for Business platform, allows them to literally work anywhere with any method from any platform. Now, I've covered all of the core features of Office 365 now to focus on the E5 SKUs and the E5 product means as a whole. Provides a new value of functionality to your users, providing enterprise protection to reduce your risk, part of a people-centric approach that Microsoft is taking for the cloud, implementing new technologies and new tools to boost your security, privacy, compliance, and to be transparent in everything it does. That's Microsoft's vision. And of course, deliver insights for everyone that helps unlock data to help everybody make better decisions. By utilizing this vast collection of utilities and options on top of the existing productivity suite, we really see an opening up of the environment, both how your users actually utilize the products, how you secure your products, and how to streamline the organization of all of those features themselves. Now, as you see here today, you see a total of 9 light items. You have 4 security, 2 analytic, and 3 voice. Now, as a whole, the E5 suite includes built-in the first 8 of these products and has the option of giving you the calling plan or the 9th product, depending on the needs of your business and organization. Now I'm going to go through each one of these in more detail and show you and explain how each one individually can attribute to the success of your business, both productively, informatively, and securely. Starting off with security. Now, with the advanced needs of today and the constant evolution of threats and whether it's information attacks and phishing and ransomware and all of these, we see an increased number of incidences in both malware and attacks onto an environment. So, with Office 365 E5, Microsoft offers advanced enterprise protection to reduce risk, ultimately to handle security so you don't have to. It's part of the new security posture outlined by Satya Nadella to protect your network across all endpoints, from sensors to data center, to detect threats by using targeted signals, behavioral monitoring, and machine learning, and be able to respond quickly, closing the gap between discovery and action. The E5 capabilities provide you even more control, increasing your privacy, transparency, and refining those user controls, really streamlining the whole process. Now, with that, with the security components, I'm now going to focus on each one of those. When we take a closer look, here are the 4 security components that are additional to the Office 365 suite. One of them is newer than the rest, being that the E5 suite of products provides the front line for Microsoft's Office productivity suites. You will always see the newest features and line items offered to the E5 suite before it's offered to the rest. Starting off, we have Advanced Threat Protection. Advanced Threat Protection protects you against unknown viruses and malware, as you can read. Now, the way it does that is a pretty amazing layering technology. You already, as being if you are an E3 customer today, or any Exchange Online customer today, you receive Exchange Online protection. Multiple viruses, multiple malware scanners, all utilizing up-to-date definitions to scan your environment to prevent intrusion into your environment from malicious behavior. Now, with the sophistication of attacks, and as time has gone by, they've gotten more devious, advanced methods are needed because the natural, shall we say, evolution of viruses, they're no longer single, shall we say, versions of a virus that stay in the wild for weeks and weeks and weeks and months. They constantly evolve. And when they evolve, they actually change their definitions, they change their product set, the way they attack, to a point where it makes virus definitions, while it does protect you against known threats, those unknown threats can now be, can really latch on, especially to unsuspecting environments. Advanced Threat Protection provides your additional layer after all the known best-in-class virus scanning and malware has already scanned and cleared that attachment or that email from coming into your environment. The first line of defense says, okay, it's good. The second line of defense is this Advanced Threat Protection, where it looks and analyzes every attachment that's passed on through and said, okay, you passed on my first line, you're good. Now I need to open you up, open your Word document, execute any Visual Basic script I find, go to any web link, and if I detect something that is suspicious, whether it's a Java applet that all of a sudden touches your security settings in your Windows machine or modifies your firewall preferences, if it detects anything of the sort, it will block that from entering your environment. Another threat that this directly addresses is the ransomware epidemic that is still getting reported on in the news on a weekly basis. It prevents attachments like that in entry into your environment, ultimately protecting you from the top down. Now, in addition to that, Advanced Threat Protection also performs a URL rewrite. Now, what that means is attackers at this point have gotten sophisticated enough that when they write a web link in an email as it comes through your scanner, your normal spam filter and firewall, it will look at that web link and see where it goes. Goes to Microsoft.com, great. But guess what? 30 minutes later, that link can now change to go to a place that looks an awful lot like Microsoft.com, but is going to start phishing you for information. This URL rewrite helps you identify those type of threats, provides a 100% log trace of every link that is clicked on in your environment, who clicked on it, how it came about, and if you are part of a targeted attack for one or two of your individuals, or if you're hitting or you're the victim of a broad sweeping attack. Two amazing different functionality additions with advanced threat protection. This is by far one of the most leading technologies in the E5 suite security-wise and functionality-wise outside of a couple of the features I will touch on later. Now, the second product, Advanced Security Management, is the newest product to the Office 365 E5 suite. It's one that was, to be honest, it was introduced in June of last year, 6 months after it was debuted, after the E5 suite was debuted into circulation. Now this is an amazing technology in that it helps provide and monitor access to your environment in a passive way. So with other more advanced threat analytics, it requires the installation of a virtual machine or the installation of some product into your environment. Well, ultimately, that's not necessarily realistic for all situations and all users. Advanced Security Management provides a passive way of utilizing your logs from your firewalls and monitoring practices to detect general anomalies, whether it's looking and seeing what type of cloud applications are running above and beyond the Office applications. So if you have shadow IT existing, it also helps because it is a cloud-based technology and does not require installation onto on-prem systems. It allows you to see and identify incidences such as Walt. Walt is a worker who logs in your environment from 9 to 5 out of Dallas, Texas, Monday through Friday. Well, that's great. You know his usage pattern. But guess what? The average number of days that, the number one access to an environment that a malicious user, a hacker, will get in is through compromised credentials. Compromised credentials. Now, that's not the most astounding part to me. What is even more shocking is a base study that came out in 2015 is that the average intruder is inside an environment for 146 days. 146 days. That's astronomical. 5 months of time inside your environment. They could be logging in from anywhere in the world. Now, with Advanced Security Management, you can actually see those logins. So you can see that Walt, utilizing Walt's credentials, an attacker, on Thursday night, 2 hours after Walt has gone home, this attacker logs in from Paris. And you can see it and it would give you a red flag. Now, that gives you great information. As you see here in the little screen on the right-hand side, you see the little red flag. It says log out, and it gives you an IP address. It gives you a time and date, and it's a red, which means it's severely abnormal behavior, which is great. Gives you that insight into your environment. Now, let's say, okay, your credentials are pretty good. Everybody's, you don't have any attacks like this, but now Walt, unbeknownst to you as the IT administrator, has become disgruntled with work. And he decided he wants to go ahead and leave the company. And he's going to leave the company in about a month. Well, on a day-to-day basis, during the normal course of his job, Walt accesses anywhere from 250 to 500 megabytes of data from the Office 365 environment and from your systems a day, just on average. But as soon as he's made the decision and he's going to leave, he starts downloading the entire intranet SharePoint. While For normal business cases, he has access to the entire network, but that doesn't mean he actually needs to download a full copy. So instead of going through 250 to 500 megs a day, now Walt is going through 5 to 10 gigabytes of data a day. I'm sure you can see how that can be problematic, especially when securing your data. Or he goes to a point where he wants to download the whole CRM database, where, again, while at the at the face, at glance, having access to CRM is good. You need him to actually use the customer relationship. You need him to have access to that on a day-to-day basis. But him to download the entire thing, that's not needed. That is going to generate a red flag. And that would also be brought up in this instance. Again, an amazing piece of technology. It's something that is new. It is passive, which means, again, it's not required to be, appliance isn't required to be installed in your environment, but it provides that amazing security as well, which is really helpful for entities and organizations as they move to be more cloud-focused and more cloud-centric with less and less of an on-premise installation and footprint. This product will become more and more useful as time goes by. Moving on, Customer Lockbox. Now this product is a unique product to Microsoft. No other cloud provider currently has anything like this. Now, that being said, Microsoft publicly states on its Office 365 Trust and Security Center that it does not mine user information for marketing purposes, and it does not read your information. Microsoft's mission on part of its cloud-first, device-first strategy is to provide the best-in-class services for productivity utilizing Office 365. Basically, it wants to provide you the skeleton and you provide all the meat, and it's just going to make it work for you. It wants to make you the best business and most efficient it can. Customer Lockbox goes above and beyond that statement and saying, you know what? We know we have said we're not going to look at your environment, but we're going to give you 100% logged security, giving you peace of mind that we're not doing anything. So during the normal course of any help ticket or any issue as you go on a day-to-day basis, you may need to have a help ticket filed with Microsoft. For instance, a SharePoint video file. You had a remote worker that was uploading a video file and because he was on a shaky cell reception, he actually didn't get to attach the permissions to that file as he was logging off and going out of range. So you need to file a ticket with Microsoft because you as the IT administrator, you know what, I'm just going to file a ticket, I'm just going to make it, take care of it and let Microsoft deal with it. Microsoft's technician, the help desk technician that sees the ticket come in, looks at it, says, okay, to satisfy this ticket, I need access to this environment. So I have to go to my manager. And as you see in this little approval process window in the right-hand side, you see it goes from ticket to the Microsoft engineer, and that engineer has to go to his boss. His boss has to say, okay, you need to ask permission from the customer. You have to grant approval as the IT administrator as a customer. If you do not grant approval or you ignore the request, Microsoft can't gain access to your environment. Now, you do, and you will have a detailed log of everything that happens. An example, technician 1138 enters your environment at 9:12 a.m. on February 7th. They touched these 3 files, edit permissions, attach them where they're needed, and then exit the environment at 9:17 a.m. That's how detailed of a log you will get. Ultimately, enforcing access control through the multiple levels of approval, with the final approval being you. The just-in-time nature of today's society has even made it all the way to security with that product. Pretty amazing stuff. Now, moving on, advanced e-discovery. Advanced e-discovery builds on top of the e-discovery piece that is included in the E3 suite of technologies. Now, every business, no matter how small, no matter how large, and no matter how complicated or safeguarded, or if it's a law firm or not, every business at some point will need to perform an e-discovery search or a legal document review, or to produce documents for a case of some kind within any business. It's a natural course of every business. Now, the key is, part of this is, A, you want to produce all the information that's relevant to the case at hand, because no one wants to get caught hiding anything, even inadvertently. Number two, you want to provide it in a method that is easily discernible and disseminable by your law firm or the practice you are engaging. And number three, you want to do it in a way that ultimately reduces your cost. Because guess what? You're going to have an associate looking at every single one of these emails, and the last thing you want to do is produce 100,000 emails when 20,000 emails will do. Now, that's where e-discovery comes in, the advanced e-discovery component. It uses thread analytics to reconstruct email threads from unstructured data. It detects duplicates, reducing the document volume so that you can focus on what's unique. It uses predictive coding to train the system to identify relevant email and documents. And ultimately, it's using themes and search to quickly map unstructured data by using clustering technology to identify the data relationships and simplify the email reviews. Now, this makes pulling all that data so much easier. I have a good friend at DLA Piper International Law Firm that has told me that their customers, their clients that utilize this type of functionality can see an average of a 30% reduction in their document review costs. So, as an IT manager, you're going to be welcome. Yay! This is going to make it easier for me to do the discovery that I have to do that I don't necessarily want to do. Number two, it's going to make the finance team happy because I'm reducing their lawyer costs. And number three, it's just going to make things so much smoother because it's all under one umbrella, and you're not having to utilize third-party applications that are going to go in, and you have to retrain it on where to look. Moving on. Now that we've taken all the security and addressed all those topics, now we're moving on to analytics. Knowing your business is protected is an amazing thing, but now focusing on the inside of your organization, you get to learn and help build your business. Microsoft is a leader in business intelligence as its capabilities build upon the world's most frequently used analytics tool, Excel. I think everybody in the world has actually utilized Excel in any kind of business. Now, Office 365 offers insights for everyone and enables you to make more informed and better decisions. Easy to use live data monitoring, in-depth analysis tools in Office 365 lets you use your data and unlock stories through simple dashboards, interactive reports, and compelling visualizations that not only are curated for the information you need and able to be searched by natural language. So me talking the way I'm talking today in this webinar, I can request information from Cortana to give me all the sales figures from the last 12 months and how do they compare year over year. That is using natural language. I can perform a natural language search just like that and it will pull the information for me utilizing Power BI and the databases that it's assigned to. Not only that, but helping figure out how your personal teams and everybody are working together, optimizing your effectiveness, I read a story a while ago talking about the optimal downtime for a business for your workers, and how it was talking about when you're productive, you're most productive when you set aside a certain point of downtime. And the Harvard Business Review and the Harvard method, was it 55 minutes of work followed by 17 minutes of downtime produces the same or better productivity levels than working straight, and yet your employees are happier, they're more efficient, and they're able to work in a more focused environment, making fewer mistakes ultimately. Now, I have two tools that make all of that possible. And I said earlier I had Power BI. Power BI Pro and Power BI are amazing tools. The Power BI functionality is provided for free for users that want to utilize an individual data set to work on it and to play in a dashboard experience. But when you want to gain insights across your entire organization and attach it to a SQL database and systems that you want to get multiple data sources and get all that information so that you can get content packs for popular services such as Salesforce, QuickBooks Online, Marketo. You can create all those data visualizations that are needed for those high-level executives and for those managers that just want to see, okay, how are we doing? I'd love to see more green, less red, and how are we doing about it? Are we doing it by quadrant? Are we doing all of that? Power BI Pro makes that possible in a very easy, curated manner. And it delivers that information via a web service, via the cloud, to any device that you need, whether it is a PC desktop, it is a Mac machine, it is a Android, or it's an iOS device, even an Apple Watch. You provide a curated dashboard for your use. Now, moving on, now that we focused on the data that we're producing, what about the data and how we actually utilize our organization itself? How are we going to optimize our workflow, our day-to-day? You know, is our HR team being effective? Well, if they're only reading 75% of their emails and their return rate on their emails are, you know, the return rate and the read rate, and then the response rate is somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 hours with a 70% read rate, that, to me, that doesn't seem like it rings, you know, very high effectiveness. You're going to be able to see all of that information with Microsoft's My Analytics. Now, Microsoft finds a lot of companies. They find a lot of different components and want to continue to build out the Office 365 environment, making it better, making it more powerful, and making it more accessible to you as a customer. That's why the My Analytics component was purchased. It was a third-party product that was rolled in a few years ago, very similar to the Skype product. Skype was not owned by Microsoft originally and was recently, in the past several years, purchased, integrated across all of Microsoft services, and we're going to be coming up on more Skype integration in a few minutes. But that is the foundation for the My Analytic component of Office 365. To be honest, most users that I deal with this, I've worked with an array of customers from 10 users all the way up to 150,000 users. And this product right here is the most undervalued initially product that they have seen. They've gained so much insight, enabling them to determine on where to focus educational sessions for their users, whether to focus their time, efforts, and ultimately increasing their effectiveness and helping us all live a little bit better and make a little more money. Moving on, telephony. Now, Office 365, if you remember going back to those 4 quadrants and those 4 corners and 4 pillars of Microsoft Office 365, you had email, you had documents repository, you had instant messaging and team meetings, and you had productivity software. Now, a natural continued evolution, or the natural component that is additional, is voice. Not just voice, not just conference calls, but actually having the ability to include full telephony support for your organization. So, do you need third-party products for conference calls? Not anymore. Not anymore. Do you need a third-party contractor to provide dial tone and to provide the ability to provide phone numbers to your organization? Not anymore. Do you need your workers on a day-to-day basis to stay tied to their desks because that is where their physical phone is? Not anymore. With Skype for Business Online, Microsoft has really changed the way that you can perform business, ultimately reducing your costs for voice, telephony, management costs, and streamlining the whole process, integrating everything into a system and environment they are already familiar with. Here are the 3 SKUs that I was talking about earlier today, and the ones that I'm talking about right now in regards to telephony. We'll start off with PSTN conferencing. Now, with the E3 platform today, you already have the ability to have a conference call, a Skype for Business meeting. If you look on the upper right-hand corner where it says Join Skype Meeting, that is basically the entire invite with the E3 license. That's it. Join Skype Meeting. There is no telephone number, which means if you are not in an area that has a consistent internet connection, if you are not in an area or utilizing a device that will maintain a consistent internet connection. So an example I like to throw out is, I'm from Texas originally. There's highways and stuff that will go on forever, but there's some spots where the internet service on those roads are kind of spotty. Now, with that being said, I can maintain a telephone conversation, but I can't maintain an internet connection on those roads. So that's just a little example of where this can directly come into play. PSTN conferencing gives you that physical dial-in phone number, allowing users to join the meeting regardless if they have a Skype for Business account, regardless if they have the application Skype for Business installed on their mobile telephone, and regardless of what platform they are utilizing, they can use that and join that number. Not only is it available for domestic, but this is a worldwide offering, providing local dial-in numbers in over 90 different countries. Pretty amazing, and it all connects to the same backbone and bridge. It offers an unlimited conferencing as part of the service, so no charges are incurred for callers using a tolled number to dial in. Pretty amazing. Moving on, Cloud PBX. Now this is where telephony really unlocks its potential. So as a business user, as somebody who as a business owner is looking at the current market and the way it's growing and the way it's transitioning from being a workplace where you go Monday through Friday to the same location each and every day, to one where it encourages bring your own device and working remotely and changing locations, and with people, the increasing nomadic workers environment that exists in society today. Cloud PBX provides the ability to manage their business lines from the cloud centrally under the Skype for Business panel, streamlining your ability to manage and consolidate all of your services. It provides functions like device switching. So I can start a call on my computer, transition to my physical handset, or like my physical desk phone, or transition to my mobile cell phone. Provides that feature. Provides voicemail delivered through email. All that is possible. Now, with that being said, Microsoft has an increasingly complicated, or shall we say, agile structure, in that it is able to function depending on the needs of the business. So not all countries support my last feature, PSTN calling. PSTN calling is an ability inside of the United States, Puerto Rico, the UK, and as of 2 months ago, France. And Microsoft is going to be rolling these plans out in the future, and it's increasing their rollout periods. Right now, I believe we have a few other countries that are about to come online in the next 6 months, but right now those are the countries that PSTN calling plans are available from. Now, calling plans vary depending on the country, but ultimately with worldwide organizations, how does this work? What happens if you have a user that's in Germany or users that are in Japan, in addition to United States users or people who are in France or the UK? So for individuals that are inside the United States, France, Puerto Rico, then UK, you can purchase your calling plans directly from Microsoft, ultimately letting Microsoft become your carrier as well. For countries outside, Cloud PBX is a worldwide tool. It can connect to an on-premise gateway and connect to a SIP trunk in the respective country. So for users that are in Japan or that are in Brazil, you can connect to an on-premise server in those countries and still provide telephony experiences for your users in those respective countries. Pretty amazing stuff at what it goes down. Now, I will go around the calling plans in a few minutes, but now I'm going to get on the differences from the E3 to E5 in a straight line, line-by-line item. Right here is the enterprise suites from Microsoft. You see with the MSRP pricing. So if you see under E1, E1 at a very basic stance is just your online services. It provides you your online meetings, Skype for Business, OneDrive for Business, Exchange Online, and SharePoint Online. That's what it provides. Pretty simple. E3, the foundation for what we've been talking about today, ups all of those features and adds data loss prevention, encryption, unlimited archiving, and the installable editions of Office. Moving on to the product that really highlights is the E5 suite. That's what we've been talking about all today. And that adds all the advanced security options, the analytics, Cloud PBX. It adds all those functionalities. And then finally we have the calling plans. And the calling plans are above and beyond. And I'm trying to pull up here we go, it's a calling plan service. And it is available in two different ways. Calling plans are either a domestic calling plan or an international calling plan. All of the calling plans, whether it's domestic or international, for U.S. users include 3,000 domestic minutes. And they are pooled at the tenant level. For the users that have international calling plans, that includes 600 international minutes, also pooled at the tenant level. Now, for argument's sake, let's say you have 10 total users, 5 international, 5 domestic. How does that work out? Well, for all of your users, you have a total of 30,000 minutes that are available to them. Pretty standard, 30,000 minutes. Now, for when you go and those can be deviated, or those can be established for whoever needs to use them, whatever method. So you can have 5 users using 7,000 minutes, and the rest can be using less. Now, for those individuals that have international calling plans, those 5 users have 600 minutes apiece, or 3,000 in total. So you may have 2 users that actually need only 100 to 200 minutes a month. But the rest, the other 3, really are going to eat up the other 2,500 minutes, ultimately bringing you to 3,000 minutes available to them. Now, the question often comes up, well, what happens if I need to go over, or what happens if it's, it's not good enough, or I need something else? Microsoft has added a brand new product. It's called consumption-based billing. So you see here at the bottom where it says usage bill per minute. Now, the details of that are found on the slide, but I know it's a lot of words, and looking at the screen, I'm just going to break it down for you. PSTN consumption, what it is a pre-allocated amount of funds that are utilized almost identically to a Starbucks gift card. You prepay $250, $500, $1,000, and every time it's being used, it chips away. As soon as it gets to a low watermark, just like your Starbucks card, it can reload right back up to the $1,000 mark. So how is this utilized other than extra minutes above and beyond the calling plans that you've already purchased? One of them is with the conferencing component. The conferencing component I spoke of earlier includes tolled dial-in. Okay? That's included. But if you wanted to offer toll-free dial-in while available, that would utilize the consumption-based billing. So very nice and easy. In addition, the PSTN conferencing, as I spoke about earlier, includes domestic dial-out. So if I'm hosting a meeting inside the United States and I want to pull somebody in from New York that isn't in the meeting because either they forgot or they're not in front of their computer and they want me to dial them in. Well, me being from Texas, I can go ahead and dial them in and pull them into the conversation. But if they're in Canada, if they're in Japan, or if they're in Germany, that would not be allowed without consumption-based billing. Consumption-based billing would enable that functionality for me to dial outside of my country. And then also you have the ability that PSTN consumption, as you're looking on the second group, and under the domestic calling plan, you will see that the consumption-based billing will allow domestic users to dial out to international numbers at that point. Now, when they do that, it will utilize a consumption rate chart. It does change, and from analyzing the consumption rate chart based upon a majority of the countries that are actually called, it's about a 200, you need to dial about 200 minutes a month internationally to reach the break-even point, of course, depending on the country you're calling. Once you reach that 200 minutes, it is more cost-effective to actually switch that user from a domestic calling plan over to an international calling plan. And then, of course, if you look down, you have PSTN domestic and international calling. That consumption adds the ability to call outside of the normal 196 countries. So in other words, it adds another 15 countries to the mix, including Antarctica. Antarctica is $5 per minute. So if we all want to call the National Science Foundation down there and their, the different science stations, $5 a minute, let's go. Let's do it. But that's how the consumption-based billing works. Now, being that I've said all of that, I've gone through a bunch of stuff. I'm ultimately, when you're looking at the E5 bundle and the advantages it gives you. Each one of those advantages, if you look at it from a competitive perspective, that is the price you're going to be paying, $90 per user per month for these solutions from a competitive point of view. Now, as an IT manager, then you are logging into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different products and managing them with 7 different teams, 7 different billing structures, and 7 different management consoles. It's not going to be the easiest thing to manage or execute or streamline your costs. If you go into Office 365 and you're like, okay, these features in Office 365 sound great, I love them, what are they going to cost from Microsoft? If you were to purchase individually, it drops it all the way down to $41 per user per month, in addition to your E3 costs that you already have. Now, Microsoft loves bundling products together, and while individually they each add up to be $41 per user per month, Microsoft said, you know what, we can do even better. Because we're consolidating it, because we're going to make it part of one SKU, and we want to make it easier for our customers to utilize these products and to see that value, we're going to drop it all the way so it's a $15 step-up price. An amazing set of technology, all for $15. Now, when you're looking at this and you're like, okay, you know what, my organization doesn't necessarily need Cloud PBX right now. My organization doesn't necessarily need Power BI right now, but it could utilize all the rest of those products. Those all sound great. Well, as soon as we evaluate 2 to 3 of these other products, as soon as we get to that tipping point, depending on which one, it makes more sense to go for the full E5 and you get all the rest with it. It reaches the break-even point. Now, I know that's a lot of information. I'm not anticipating my entire, everybody who's attending to be, to know all the ins and outs of all of the Microsoft practice and or, licensing methods, but that's why I'm here with PCM. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them now. I know we have about 7 minutes available to us. I'm more than happy to answer those. And if you'd like, we can get you set up with one of our account executives, and we can actually have a meeting where we can have a one-on-one. I can spend an hour going into either with your stakeholders, ask individual, give you the time to ask individual specific questions to your organization, and we can go from there. But thank you very much for attending, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Scott, for a wonderful presentation. Okay, we have got quite a few questions in the questions box. Mainly, I've got questions from James Harting. So, do you think we can take a few questions and the rest I can email you?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's start with the first question. Okay. So the first question is, does OneDrive for Business have AD credentials or add credentials?
Yes. So that's a great question. So OneDrive for Business can utilize Active Directory credentials. The way it works is OneDrive for Business it is part of the Office 365 platform, and during the course of a standard setup, you do synchronize an on-premise Active Directory with the Office 365 Azure Active Directory. So it would utilize Active Directory credentials. But if you are wanting to create a separate entity that is only cloud-based, you do not have to use that. It is up to you. But it is not best practice to do that. It is best practice to utilize the same Active Directory.
Thank you, Scott. The second question from James is, what level of support is available at a 24/7 level? Spreadsheet crash or lockup supper access development challenges?
Okay, so with this question, the level of support that's available 24/7 is a ticketed-based support. There is a call-in as well, but it is more of a ticketed call-in. Now, depending on where you purchase Office 365 support, we at PCM have the fortunate ability to be your to take over Microsoft support above and beyond what is offered through Microsoft. So the Microsoft ticketing system, while it does get questions answered, it does provide solutions, but it is something that if you want more detail or more responsive questions, that it was a higher level that would be, that it would probably be interesting for you. It would probably be of value.
Thank you, Scott. The next question is, can we integrate and Avaya IP Office 500 v2 with Cloud PBX features?
That's a great question. At this time, I'm not 100% certain. I do know that Avaya requires its own hardware to do a lot of its deployments and for a lot of its system, but that is a question that we would be able to have with one of my engineers. My engineers, it was Microsoft's own internal Skype for Business architect, and he's the leader in the field. He's a Microsoft MVP, and we would be happy to get on the phone and have a appointment to discuss that with you.
Thank you, Scott. The next question is from Matt Locati. He is asking, is SharePoint as easy to use as Dropbox? Dropbox seems more intuitive.
Well, you're asking about two different questions here. SharePoint is more designed for an intranet document collaboration tool, and with the recent release of Microsoft Teams, a platform to do collaborative editing while having it under one environment. Dropbox itself as a method for sharing documents back and forth, while previous to Windows 10, it may seem more, Dropbox may seem more intuitive. OneDrive for Business with Windows 10 is a seamless operation with your Windows platform. It's built right in. So I don't necessarily know what type of question you're asking, but from my personal perspective, having used all, I've used Dropbox, Box, OneDrive for Business, Google Drive, ShareFile, Cubby, I've used all of these products, and utilizing Windows 10, OneDrive for Business is a seamless experience, and I wouldn't use anything else.
Thank you, Scott. I think we can take a couple of more questions. The next one is from James Harting again. He says E3 does not have 0-day protection.
E3 does not have DoD protection?
No, 0-day.
So E3 protection has, it does not have what is considered 0-day. E3 includes standard virus and malware scanning for all email systems. Now, with that being said, it doesn't have a proactive included feature that will analyze all links after they have been received and analyze attachments utilizing a detonation chamber. That is an additional feature that can be purchased separately or as part of the E5 suite.
Thank you so much, Scott. And also everyone is asking for a copy of PPT deck. If you can, please send me a copy and I'll have it on the website and send all the attendees and non-attendees a link for that.
Okay.
So that will be great. Okay. So I think we can take one more question. It's from Claudia. Is E5 available for government plan as well?
So E5 did just get released formally for government plans in the last 30 days. It has some restrictions on it in terms of the full functionality, but as a whole, yes, the E5 plan is now available under the government cloud.
Thank you so much, Scott. So for the remaining questions, I will email you the questions and with the names of whoever has asked it, and then you can cater it from there.
Absolutely. More than happy. Thank you, everyone, for attending. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining in today. And if you still have any questions, please email us at amec@onpoint.com or webinars@pcm.com. So with that, thank you so much, Scott. That was a fabulous presentation. And thank you all for joining me today. Have a great day ahead.
All right. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.